Today we're going to be taking a look at the greatest queen sacrifice in chess history. Non-debatable. Might be the best game in chess history in my opinion. It was played by none other than Rashid Nezhmetdinov. It's versus Oleg Chernikov. Who was Nezhmetdinov? Well, I think you guys should research his backstory, his life. He had a fascinating life, a hard life. His family did, that is. In my opinion, he's the most tactical chess player to ever live. That is over Mikhail Tal. I've looked through all his games. He's had a positive win record against Mikhail Tal. Their games are fascinating. And the way he played chess is absolutely beautiful. He was both a chess player and a checkers player. Thankfully, he gave up checkers and pursued chess because we get beautiful games like this. He never became a grandmaster. He was an international master, and the reason for that is he lived in the Soviet Union. Because of Stalin, he was never able to leave the country and play, except for once, and that one tournament he played, where I believe he finished behind Korchnoi, he got second place, he got an IM title. I mean, imagine being able to leave just once and becoming an international master. That is amazing. You know what else is amazing? This game we're about to review. Greatest queen sacrifice in chess history. We get a Sicilian by Chernikov. We get an open Sicilian by Nezhmetdinov. We get knight c6, d4, all mainline stuff. The beginning starts normally, and then it becomes extremely tactical. Knight c3, bishop g7. Okay, we get the accelerated dragon. This is pretty much everybody's first Sicilian, I feel like. I remember when I was a kid, and I was like 1600, everybody was like playing the dragon, and then you became like 2200, and then they stopped playing the dragon, thankfully. Bishop to e3, all right, main line, right? Are we going to get a Yugoslav? Are we going to get like f3, g4, h4, castles, queenside, sack, 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 mate? No. We get normal chess with knight f6, bishop c4, castles. We get bishop to b3, preemptively stepping back. I believe Fischer popularized this, stepping back out of any tempo gainers. And here, Chernikov played the move knight g4, which looks like a knight blunder, but it is not. Think about the idea. There's also a famous game, I believe it's between Bronstein and Fischer, where Bronstein made the mistake of going knight to a5. Just to show you guys, in case you play this variation, why is knight to a5 a mistake? It lets go of e5 too quickly. All right, so you get pawn to e5. If this knight moves to h5, you just have g4 trapping it. And if this guy takes, tactically, it does not work because you're just going to win an extra piece as white. It's just what you're going to do. It's just what happens. So we get knight to g4. However, Chernikov, this is not a line you play against someone named Nezhmetdinov, right? This is like just trolling. This is like warming him up. I can't think, invigorating him, something like that. Not the exact word I was searching for, but this is waking up a beast. That's what knight g4 does. Chernikov's like, take my knight. Rashid's like, I will take your knight. And what's the point? Well, Chernikov wins a knight himself. Nowadays, the most popular move for white in this position is to play the move queen to d1. Right? So it was a deflection tactic. Black picked up a knight. White's queen is on g4. Where is it going to move to? It doesn't want to stay on g4 because surely they're going to get some central play with a tempo with the light squared bishop. So he moves queen to h4. This was the most common move back in the day. So we get the move queen to a5, pinning the knight to the king. Now you probably should not castle queenside because takes, and maybe even queen a1, putting the knight on b1. This looks like a scary diagonal that black has against white's king. So we get the move castles kingside, the best move. Chernikov plays bishop f6. He's like, all right, it's a rest day. This was a theoretical draw. That's why, in my opinion, this is the best game of all time. Because this was a theoretical draw back in the day, back in the 50s and 60s, and then so on. And every game proceeded to go queen h6, bishop g7, queen h4, just a draw. You can go queen g4, but then it's like, why did you lose a couple tempo not going queen d1 earlier? You might be like, I don't get it. Why can't he go queen g3 or queen f4? Black has a beautiful tactic here. Try to solve it. That tactic is the move queen takes knight. Giving up a queen, but then forking the king and the queen, and you result in a winning endgame. This results in a winning endgame for black, that is. So, of course, Nezhmetdinov doesn't do that. So after the move bishop to f6, Chernikov starts pacing the room. He starts walking around. And Rashid is sitting there for 35 to 40 minutes. And Chernikov is like, why is this guy not just taking the repetition? Like, let's go home. Let's get a rest. Nezhmetdinov did not play the game for a rest day. He played to win every single game he played, much like Tal. And I'm not saying he's better than Tal, but he was definitely Tal's kryptonite, using Tal's playstyle against him. But a lot of people say the problem with Nezhmetdinov was he couldn't sit on his position. Like, if they just played purely positional, he had to go for a tactic. But that makes me respect him all the more, to be honest. All right, I'm done talking. Were you thinking about the move? The move is queen to... I mean, who does this? Who sees the move bishop to f6, thinks queen takes f6? It's engine approved. It is a brilliancy. What is the point? Well, yes, you lose a queen. And think of it. If takes, white is automatically better because of the move bishop takes knight, aiming at f6. Logically, they're going to go king to g7 to guard the pawn. What's the follow-up? The follow-up is knight d5. And you see, we're going to get something very similar in the game. But look at this coordination. This knight and this bishop are around an isolated pawn. Very important. The fact that it's an isolated pawn makes all of this doable because nothing can boot out the knight or the bishop. And essentially, you're just going to rook lift on the third. And you're just going to pressure point f6. And they have a light squared bishop that cannot get out, can't hold a dark squared piece. So it's going to be hard for them to defend against f6. And once you win f6, all of these mating threats become playable. So it's such a high level idea. I'm so thankful that this game exists. But we get the switch, right? Chernikov was a very good chess player as well. We get the move knight to e2, a switch. The point is this forces white's knight backwards, so it's harder to get to d5. But the thing is, black's position is so paralyzed. He's up a queen for a knight and bishop, a queen for two minor pieces, but his pieces aren't doing anything, and Nej's pieces are just all going to get into the game, right? So you lose a tempo. I'm sure this is the line he was calculating, because it's very easy to know that if not knight e2, you're better. But if knight e2, can you really lose a whole tempo or two and still be winning when you don't have a queen? Position is equal according to the engine, but if you're down a queen, it's not really equal. That means you have the world going for you, as we all do. Unless you're born where this guy was born, but he still became an IM even at the time he was born, which is crazy. So, research his life. It's a beautiful story. His parents, his work, travels, everything. So we get knight to d5 trying to fork the king and the rook. Chernikov sees that, so he rook lifts to e6, guarding his pawn on f6. Bishop to d4. This is amazing. You see, not only does this open up a route to the third rank, it adds pressure all to f6, and there's just not a lot of moves. It's not like black could go f5, it's just not a good move. You just take, and what was the point? Are you going to open your king further? Look at all these open lanes. These bishops are thriving. I've had two bishops versus a queen before overpower a queen. This is like one of those positions. Paralysis for black. We get king to g7, all right? Two defenders, two attackers. Life is good. Not really. No, it is. Rook a to d1, going for the rook lift. And here we get d6. Apparently the only way to maintain equality, and this is what I mean, it's just unplayable. The only way for black to maintain equality is the move pawn to b6. Who's playing that? Not many people. Not many people at all. Knight c7. The best move is for him to give up an exchange. Look at these monsters. Do you want to deal with those bishops? I know I don't. I wouldn't. So we get pawn to d6. Look at this ISO. I got this. But this bishop's just not going anywhere. We get rook to d3, a rook lift, bishop to d7, too little too late, and rook to f3. All right? Look at this. Three attackers. You're going to take with the knight. You could have taken with the knight a move prior. So if you saw that, good job. You could take with the knight and then go rook f3, or you could do it this way. He does it this way. And we get bishop to b5. A mistake, but not so clear why. There's many good moves for white here. The best move is c4, but I understand not want the best move. Right? But I understand not wanting to play that because it's going to obscure the vision of the bishop. So we get bishop to c3. Right? Nez is one of those people. He's like, my rook's under attack, but your queen's under attack. Switch. The queen gets out of the way, moves to d8, adding a defender. But look, 14 points, quick math, of material are tied down to a pawn. To a pawn that cannot be lost. 14 points. We got 5, 8, 11 taking care of 14 plus the king, which is the game. We get knight takes. Now, of course, you cannot just do this. Right? Apparently, the best move is rook d1, but I would just take that. Why not? Enter a winning endgame. And we get bishop e2. This is correct. Why is this correct? Well, because this rook is doing nothing. This rook is not needed. He's like, I got all the pieces I need on your king. This rook is not needed. Knight to g4 would lead to an assortment of mates. If king f8, you would win the material back right away due to the pin. And then checkmate your opponent. So Chernikov understood that this rook on f3 is the one that needs to be removed. We get knight takes h7, check. Does that lose a knight? As you can see by the great move symbol, it does not. But why not? Well, after takes, you would just go, not rook h3, you would go rook takes f7, king h6, bishop g7, walk the king to the end of his journey. Right? The walk of shame will be done by the king right there. So we get knight takes h7, king to g8, rook to h3. Fine. Why did you go knight back to f6? We're not. No. No. Sometimes you see what the engine wants, you just say no. You see the bar go down, you go, you are wrong, sir. Because this is beautiful. Rook to h3, what's the point? Well, the point is just to go knight to g5 and just checkmate black. Just to checkmate black on h8. So you can't go f6, right? Because then the rook is pinned, you lose the rook, you get mated. All of the sort. Rook to e5, only move. Best move. Stops the mate on h8. But we have an f-pawn. We do have an f... Who cares about this? Stop looking at the rook, guys. No one cares about that rook. By all means, take the rook. f4. Move the rook. Get checkmated. We get the move bishop takes rook. A fatal mistake. Do not take this pawn on e5. That is not a pawn. That is a rook because then you might blockade your bishop. I mean, you could. You're still winning technically. But he takes the bishop. He takes the bishop. We get rook to c8, attacking the bishop. And you don't want to lose this dark squared bishop. You definitely don't want to lose this dark squared bishop because it is your whole attack. So he saves it. He goes bishop to d4, and we get pawn to b5. We get pawn to b5, maybe trying to go rook c4. He's like, please take my rooks. I don't want my rooks. I just don't want your bishops. Nezhmetdinov is like, nah, knight to g5. And this just can't be taken. Right? You just can't take this because rook h8, that is the mate. So the rook is stuck on e5. We get rook to c7, guarding against the attack that's created here on f7. Find the beautiful finish to this game. I have no words. I am wordless. In other words, speechless from this idea. Bishop takes f7. Rook takes f7. Rook to... Is that... Well, I mean, can we call that a brilliancy? Why is that a great... Can we call every single move Nezhmetdinov played this game a brilliancy? This is seriously one of the most insane games of chess. I hope you guys haven't seen it before. Because the first time I saw this, I was like, wow. Wow. Good chess player. This forces... Right, it forces because of boom, bam. It forces king takes h8. Royal fork. A royal fork picking up a rook. Have you ever seen... There's just so many things I haven't seen before until this game. And I've seen a lot of games and a lot of moves. Knight takes... Now, you might be like, I don't get it. It's a bishop and knight versus rook. Okay, yes, I know a bishop and a knight versus... Well, actually, black resigned. Because at the GM level, or IM level, this guy's a super GM. I don't want to hear it. This is just too much. You have 5 perfect pawns versus 4 very imperfect pawns. You have a rook versus a bishop and a knight. White is going to thrive. It's such a big imbalance that black did resign in this position. Your guys' homework, play this out against the engine, the almighty stockfish, and see if you could win as white. I think that'd be a good try. Now, I know I just talked up Nezhmetdinov this whole video, and usually I typically roast people, but I just have nothing bad to say about this guy. One of my favorite chess players. Definitely strongest IM ever, and I mean, he deserved it, right? You guys saw the game just as I did. Do you think he deserved it? I do. Thank you as always for watching. Thank you for the support on my recent videos. I'll see you guys pretty soon. Have a great day. Boom.